It's Thursday, September 8th. We are moving really fast through the early part of fall. The days are getting really short, which I told you last week I'm not impressed with, but at least we're alive to see it. We're alive to, for me, I'm right down the street from a high school and I'm able to hear the band like I hear every year and watching the leaves fall through the trees. And so I pause because even though I complain about the days not being as long as I want them to be, I I'm grateful to be here, be on top of the ground as opposed to underneath the ground. So today I'm going to be reading a meditation I sent out 2 weeks ago. I told you that even though we do the reading from my book, Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul, which I hope you are purchasing and buying and sharing with family and friends, I do send one out every single week with the hopes of perhaps doing a second volume. And a couple of weeks ago, I sent one out that I'm going to read today. But I wanted to read it because in Columbus, past week, there's been these shootings, 3 shootings of 3 Black people, and it just bugs the baloney out of me um, that the police officers, the police departments, law enforcement, they always have this pat answer. We were in fear for our lives. Then the explanation from FOP and others is they have split seconds to make these decisions. And I know that there are instances when that is absolutely true, but not in all of the situations. When somebody is running away from you, it's not a split second decision you have to make. When um, you roll up on somebody like you did with Tamir Rice in Cleveland, and within 2 seconds you shot him dead. I mean, there's so many instances where that I was in fear for my life line doesn't work. And the end result is that too many Black people are still being lynched via police violence, lynched via white terrorist violence, gun violence. And it's not right. Somebody asked me last week what I think about with the case of Donovan Lewis here in Columbus, and I'm just so tired. Everybody's tired. I'm tired because it's not going to stop. I read an article this morning where some guy was suspended by the army because he said out loud that the reason he joined the army was so that he could learn how to kill Black people. I mean, it's just the racism is it soaks the very soul of this country, and nobody does anything to stop it. It just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. So this morning I watched a video that was produced here in Columbus, Ohio. Adrienne Hood, who was the mother of Henry Green, who was also shot and killed by a police officer, is a major part of that. She is a freedom fighter, a freedom fighting mother here in Columbus, Ohio, working for justice for her son. The story, the explanations are all the same, but she has never stopped fighting. She is ferocious, and she is part of a line of mothers, Black mothers, that just won't stop. Those are their babies that are killed, and they have the double whammy of having to suffer the loss of their child and not getting justice. Everybody wants justice, but for some reason, this society thinks that Black people either don't want it or we don't deserve it. And so we have these mothers and these fathers who are walking around with trauma in their souls, trauma in their souls. I don't even know how they get up in the morning and breathe, knowing that their child was taken away and the person who did it got away with murder. So this film has come out called "They Won't Call It Murder." And it's on Vimeo, and it's on my Facebook page. If you go to my Facebook page, Susan K. Smith, you can see it, and I would love for you to watch it and share it widely, because something has to be done. But Adrienne Hood is in a line of moms, including Mamie Till and Beulah Donald, who I'm going to read about today, and so many other African American mothers who have said, no, 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 you will not kill my child and get away with it. You will not kill my child and expect me to go sit in a corner someplace just because you grant my family millions of dollars. The money does not bring my child back. What needs to happen is that these police departments need to pull up. They need to see what they're doing and stop it. And the thing that gets me is that they'll always say that they are in fear for their lives. I maintain that black people and brown people and trans people and gay people, we're the ones in fear for our lives because what I believe, and this is just my belief, is that many people join the police department because they know they can kill people they don't like and get away with it. Um, and so, it is a problem. It's a problem. I don't trust the police department. I mean, I know that there are some good ones, but there are so many who have killed so many innocent people and gotten away with it. I wouldn't feel so distrustful of police if the history of the legacy hadn't been that they do it and they get away with it. I read a book by Carol Anderson. She's a historian. It's called The Second. It's a wonderful book, and it's about, and the subtitle is Race and Guns in a Fatally Un, Unequal America. Race and Guns in a Fatally Unequal America. And she does a brilliant job of explaining this whole Second Amendment thing and this preoccupation with guns and how it really started with people being deputized to go hunt and kill. They wanted to Africans and African Americans who had been enslaved and who tried to escape. That's the legacy of this country. Every time somebody says that's not who we are, I said, no, that's who we are. That's who we are. And we have to own it. So this morning, I'm going to read this meditation that I sent out a couple of weeks ago, and it's called When You Refuse to Accept Injustice. Fighting against injustice is as hard a job as anyone could have. The fight is not against individuals, but rather against systems and the money embedded in those systems. The people in power can afford to pay people off, and unfortunately, justice for the least of these is too often a pipe dream. Those who work against injustice push against a wall that refuses to budge. Power will not concede without the demand, and sometimes it loses, but not without a fight. In 1981, in Montgomery, Alabama, 19-year-old Michael Donald was lynched by members of the Ku Klux Klan. He hadn't done anything wrong. He was a random pick by some whites who were angry that the second trial of a black man accused of killing a white woman had ended in a mistrial. The white community was infuriated because the mistrial said to them that black people could get away with killing whites and they could not stomach and would not accept that thought. And so they snatched Michael while he was walking home. They strangled him and beat him to death, and then they hung him and they cut his neck before they hung him. Everyone knew who had committed the crime, but the justice system of Montgomery was slow to move. They picked up a couple of people that they knew hadn't done it, but people in Montgomery said, "No, no, I think it was Mobile. I'm messing this up, Mobile." But the people were not having it. Beulah Donald, Michael's mother, was as incensed as she was grieved over what had happened to her son, and she decided that they would not get away with it. They would not get away with what they had done. Like Mamie Till, years before her, she made sure her son's casket was left open during the funeral so that the world would see what they had done to her child. Beulah was not done, though. She determined that she would not give in to the Southern justice system, which so often let murders of Black people go unpunished. She said, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. So she pushed for these two young white men accused of Michael's murder to be prosecuted. And they were. They were both arrested. They were prosecuted. They went on trial. They were convicted. One of them received the death penalty, and the other was sentenced to life in prison. It was the first time since 1913 in Alabama's history that white men had been held accountable for the murder of a Black person. But she wasn't done. Beulah was not done. She wanted the system to pay. And so in 1984, 3 years after her son's murder, she filed a civil suit against the United Klans of America, an organization to which her son's murderers belonged. The group had also been responsible for the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church that resulted in the deaths of 4 little girls. It was as though Beulah had said in her spirit, not this time, not this time. So she hired Morris Dees, the co-founder of the Southern Poverty Law Center, to argue the case, and they won. They won. In 1987, Beulah was awarded $7 million. She got a $7 million judgment against the KKK, and it was a decision that was so devastating for the Klan that it bankrupted the organization. Beulah died in 1988, but she lived long enough to use the strength and the faith she had to push against the thick wall of injustice that too often poses such a challenge to people fighting the system. A fight so bad that people just walk away. She knew that she couldn't. Her child mattered, and so did the lives of other Black people who were regularly being terrorized by white hate groups and getting away with it. Surely there had to be down moments in her fight, but she never stopped her fight, just like there had to have been down moments for Mamie Till and Adrian Hood and for the mothers of all these other young men who have been shot and killed either by street violence or police violence. But especially by police violence, because you expect police to protect you, and when they don't, it's mind-boggling. Beulah Donald reminds us of the words of the psalmist, I have never seen the righteous forsaken. We know that. We only know that, though, when we step into the ring and engage in the fight. Clearly, the oppressed do not win every fight in which we are engaged. We don't win a whole bunch of them. Conversely, in spite of our efforts, we often lose. But what we don't lose and what the world cannot take away is the Spirit of God in us that tells us we are ready for whatever are the fights we face. We are equipped to make evil retreat, surprised at our strength that cannot keep us from being knocked down, but which keeps us from staying down. This is our gift from God. Ask Beulah. Amen and amen. I was fascinated by that story, Beulah. I was fascinated. We don't hear that story very often. And I'm fascinated by the mothers that I see who stay on the battlefield. I encourage you again to watch the film on Vimeo. It's called They Won't Call It Murder, and it is. I encourage you to watch it and share it. I encourage you to pray for the mothers who are still on the battlefield, who have to get up every single morning with that grief in front of them and in them and boiling inside of them. I ask you to pray their strength. And I ask you to make a commitment to do whatever you can do to help fight this war against the systems that are keeping us down. And on that note, we need to vote. You need to register to vote. You need to check your voter registration and make sure it's up to date because, there's things going on because people want to keep us from voting. We have to say, like Beulah said, not this time. It's not going to happen. We have to say that. We have to live it. We have to work it. No matter how tired we are, our lives are in our hands and we are helped along in our fight by God. And so I hope that you will check your registration. Make sure if you're not registered, that you do so before the deadline. Make a commitment to know what the issues are and who the candidates are, and help us all push against this wall that Adrian Hood is pushing against, that Beulah Donald and Mamie Till pushed against, and so many other mothers and fathers are pushing against even now. Oh my God, hear this prayer. Thank you guys for being with me this morning. I hope that you'll come back next week and bring someone. Take good care. Have a good day. Bye bye.